It will alter your entire understanding of entertainment. We're discussing phone seizures, secret cameras at high-level meetings, and a methodical system that determines who survives and who perishes. Ice Cube just entered the Diddy debate and revealed startling details regarding Diddy Oprah, Hollywood's covert methods, and the industry's covert customs. After watching this video, you will understand the reasons behind Jamie Foxx's mysterious disappearance, the shocking ritual details that Ice Cube claims they have been hiding for decades due to Cube's revelations about these Hollywood rituals, and the surveillance occurring at industry parties, and how celebrities like Diddy and Oprah are allegedly using these events to maintain control. It starts with a process known as blacklisting, in which powerful Hollywood figures bar you from the industry because they believe you could divulge information they would like you not to. When Cube tried to appear on The View, he encountered the same issue. It would be a mistake to believe that a famous rapper, actor, or director will be accepted on a chat show. Cube claims that because producers informed him that the host didn't agree with him, he was totally shut out. But the reality is far more nuanced, and Oprah's viewpoint wasn't the only one. We're talking about keeping him out of key appearances for his own ventures, like Barber Hop and Black, and Oprah did, in fact, ignore him a lot. Think about that for a moment.
I tried to go on The View. They didn't have me on The View.
Why?
Well, a few of the guests just really didn't like where I was coming from.
That's only the beginning, though, as Cube's additional revelations regarding Hollywood's gatekeepers will make you reconsider all of your preconceived notions about the entertainment sector. Listen, Cube goes beyond merely griping about exclusion to expose the system and what he perceives to be a questionable Hollywood gatekeeper. Cube says it's a form of revenge for not joining what he refers to as the get-along gang. The unwritten rule in Hollywood is to follow the script and be polite or risk being left out. Cube claims that these gatekeepers, who are not limited to business leaders, have complete authority over the narrative. If you break their rules, it could ruin your career and even lead to success. Anyone who respects artistic freedom should be alarmed by this. Q goes into great depth about how these gatekeepers react to anyone who challenges the status quo. The episode comes to me whenever I hear about gatekeepers because of Kelly Clarkson's statement. There are people who can control you by just throwing millions of dollars on your face, and her forced silence on live television to contact the audience directly and steer clear of the mainstream media entirely. Ice Cube is embarking on the Gatekeepers podcast tour. You build your own platform when the system rejects you, and Oprah will have to respond to some challenging inquiries. When we talk about Oprah, things become heated. So before you say, "But she's Oprah," listen to what has been going on. Before Taraji P. Henson's public outcry over the Color Purple payment issues raised more concerns about how black artists were treated and compensated in her films, Oprah took responsibility for the criticism, but it persisted. Then 50 Cent criticizes Oprah for what he perceives to be the #2 movement's bigotry against black men. And the issues don't stop there. Things get more sticky when Monique says that Oprah herself rejected her after she won an Oscar. Monique's arranged brother was allegedly invited to Oprah's show without her consent. Serious claims of abuse and staff misbehavior. Oprah's South African school infuriated the people, but the mainstream media decided to ignore the facts. Ice Cube, meanwhile, was making controversial choices of his own that would further separate him from the elite of Hollywood. They got to me, and here is where Cube really starts acting out of control. He made headlines when he refused to get the CO-19 vaccine for a movie role, but he maintained that the decision had nothing to do with the vaccine and was instead the result of Hollywood's propensity to penalize free thinkers. Then, to everyone's astonishment, he teamed up with other conservative luminaries like Tucker Carlson. This action forced people on both sides of the political spectrum to confront some harsh realities because a black artist from South Central is refusing to fit into either side's expectations.
I've been excluded on Oprah, you know.
On Oprah?
On Oprah, yeah, I've been excluded.
Ice Cube stopped talking about these issues from the outside And what happened in that federal courtroom would change everything. His refusal to alter who he is to fit someone's narrative is crucial. Cube's remarks regarding gender identity drew harsh criticism. He made a joke about wanting to identify as a pigeon and contrasted being a male with being viewed negatively today. Ice Cube wasn't simply on exhibit when he showed up in Diddy's courtroom. He was there to keep the industry from harboring secrets that may destroy careers and the entire Hollywood power structure that has existed for decades. Anyone would begin to question what is real and what is fake in the entertainment industry after learning about the covert machinery that runs Hollywood. Ice Cube asserts that the same system that grants fame has the power to ruin you the instant you stop abiding by its regulations. When they do, the collapse is silent, well-planned, and completely catastrophic. The most shocking example of how this system operates is a person that most people would never imagine is engaged. It influences stories, public opinion, and ultimately who has a voice in American society in addition to deciding who gets movie roles. After reading about Jamie Foxx and his alleged ordeal, you will have an entirely different perspective on Hollywood. Although Ice Cube, the royalty Oscar winner, was a musical genius and a comedy star, Foxx asserts that his attempt to distance himself from Diddy and the powerful group that surrounded him was a serious mistake. Projects were moved, meetings were canceled, and opportunities were subtly lost, all of which had nothing to do with marketability or aptitude. Acting irresponsibly in Hollywood has far more serious consequences than simply missing a few scenes. Even though James Fox was still Jamie Foxx, this story would transform from a career failure to something much darker as a result of what happened to Jamie Foxx during that Netflix shoot. Instead of being loud or dramatic, the slow, silent devastation of a person's career is intended to seem more like a natural decline in one's field of work than deliberate sabotage. Everyone on the back-end action set had more questions than answers after James Foxx abruptly left. He shows up one day, then vanishes the next, and nobody talks about the real situation. Medical condition, according to the official story. But Ice Cube surprisingly asserts that Fox's purported medical emergency was a planned tactic to silence someone who was starting to become too much of a burden rather than a coincidence. Think about this in an industry where data breaches happen all the time. How can a famous person just disappear from a set with almost no explanation? A phone call that allegedly changed everything. A call from someone who can make or destroy careers in Hollywood today is the most terrifying part of this story. How can someone with Jamie Foxx's profile go months without providing any trustworthy information? Now that he has made his case, provided proof, and identified specifics, Ice Cube has revealed what he says is a system designed to control, oppress, and govern anyone who doesn't comply with Hollywood's unspoken norms. He asserts that these alleged Hollywood parties are far from informal get-togethers, saying they are well-planned events where attendees' phones are seized and covert cameras capture every action. More significant than whether you believe every detail to be accurate is your willingness to look at the patterns and ask yourself, what if he's right? Ice Cube's bold revelations are triggering a long overdue conversation about the shadowy mechanisms in Hollywood. But the deeper implication isn't just who's being shut out, it's who's enforcing the silence. While his claims about blacklisting and narrative control have raised eyebrows, what's striking is how this pattern aligns with similar experiences shared by other artists, like Dave Chappelle, who famously walked away from a multi-million-dollar deal, citing discomfort. With the energy surrounding him, industry insiders now whisper that the exclusion Cube faced from The View may have stemmed less from political views and more from his refusal to partake in curated, on-air narratives designed to protect elite reputations. Ice Cube's pushback against Hollywood's get-along gang puts a new lens on moments like Taraji P. Henson's emotional statements about pay equity on The Color Purple, especially when juxtaposed with Oprah's public-facing role as a champion for black voices. The contradiction isn't just in their actions, it's in who gets to speak without consequence. Add to that Monique's public fallout with Oprah and 50 Cent's critique of selective support within the Me Too movement, and a pattern begins to emerge, one where influence isn't just about money, but maintaining silence within the inner circle. Behind the scenes, whispers point to a sophisticated system of vetting. Before someone gets elevated, they're tested not just artistically, but in loyalty. Even Cube's refusal to align with pandemic-era mandates reportedly led to studio-level rewrites and budget shifts to exclude him, all while avoiding direct confrontation. Meanwhile, his appearance in Diddy's courtroom wasn't just symbolic. Industry sources suggest it was time to create a distraction from deeper investigations into long-whispered misconduct tied to high-powered figures. It's not lost on many that Jamie Foxx's unexplained medical emergency happened during the same cycle of exposure, and some suggest his disappearance coincided with a private disagreement over party footage, allegedly circulating within exclusive circles. According to backstage whispers, those Hollywood events Cube mentioned, where phones are seized and cameras roll, serve as both initiation and insurance. Attendees are protected, but only if they play by the rules, and if they don't, silent. Exits, missed contracts, unexplained illnesses, all carefully framed as natural career dips. The question becomes less about whether every allegation is true and more about how many of these stories can overlap before they form a recognizable pattern. For years, entertainment media avoided these tailies, often labeling them as rumors or unsubstantiated claims. But now, with figures like Ice Cube stepping forward on independent platforms like his gatekeepers, podcast audiences are no longer relying on traditional press for the full picture. That's where the tension lies. When the very figures once trusted to deliver inspiration and empowerment now face scrutiny for possibly maintaining the very system they claim to disrupt. What happens next may depend less on Cube's words and more on how others respond. And judging by the silence from certain power players, it seems the pressure is quietly building behind closed doors. Given all we've seen, it's difficult to discern the difference between those two things. So please share in the comments whether you think Ice Cube was telling the truth or whether this is just another conspiracy theory.